The sermon starts with a story. It's a story of a seeker, a spiritual seeker. I see some here. This seeker was on a quest, as they tend to be in stories like this. And the seeker was told to go up the mountain, as seekers are always told to do in stories like this, and go into the cave, and there would be a well. And to look into the well and ask the question, what is truth? And so the seeker climbed the mountain and went into the cave and looked into the well. And remember, this is metaphor. And he cast into the well the question, what is the truth? And the well replied, go to the crossroads. There you will find your answer. Now my mind, thinking about the blues, thought about going down to the crossroads. But that's not the crossroads. The crossroads was where the village was, and when he went there, he saw 3 shops. One selling pieces of brass, one selling pieces of wood, and one selling coils of wire. The seeker was distraught. No one really was there to tell him the answer to what the truth was. All there were these shops. Now the crossroads is that place where the world meets the divine. But there was no clear answer for him. So the seeker did what most seekers would do: climb back up the mountain and go back in the cave and yell into the well, what do you mean? Now, a word to the wise, if you're a seeker like that and you're told to go to a well, and a well gives you a place to go find the answer, you don't find it there, you go back and you yell into the well's not going to give you more answers. So the well did not speak. So the seeker went off into his life, pursuing the truth, but not knowing exactly what the well had spoken of. Many years passed by until one day the seeker was walking in the night under the moonlight on a beautiful evening like we've had recently. And he heard a beautiful sound. And he followed that sound until he came to a small temple. And inside the temple was a man playing the sitar, the Indian instrument that makes beautiful sounds like the gods are speaking. And he realized at once, the sitar is made of brass and wood and coiled wire. The man was joyous. Why? Why? He realized that our task in life is to assemble what we have and use it appropriately. That the message of the well was that we already have been given everything we need. Nothing is meaningful as long as we only perceive the separate fragments. But as soon as the fragments come together, something new emerges. A new form that could not have been seen by looking at the fragments themselves. We see this in biology. We are a collection of cells that have come together. We hear it in the music, a collection of notes that make the melody. And people come together to give meaning to their lives in a community like this. All we have is all we need. And coming of age is the process of coming together. This story doesn't say stop seeking the truth. Remember, he is not given a handbook, he is not given an easy answer, one story or one figure to follow. He is given a path through which he is asked to find a way toward becoming whole, toward knowing the truth. And that is what coming of age is. It is a process of coming together, of recognizing what is important, of writing it down, of speaking it, of holding it dear. Coming of age is a process of coming together, which happens today and tomorrow and next week and 20 years from now if we are paying attention. Coming of age is a process, not an event. Even though today we make a special day, we say to these young people, you come of age among us. We know that this is a fleeting moment. That this is just a chance for us to bless the young ones in our midst and say, remember this day when you need it, when you are out on the road, when you are wandering and cursing the well that will not give you the answer, when you are troubled by life, or needing a community that cares about you, because today we are saying that we care about you, about your seeking, about your development as a spiritual person, as a contributing member to our community. One way to talk about this is to say that we all come of age throughout our lives during times when we become our parents' caretakers, or we lose someone we love, or we change jobs, or move to another city, or get a degree, or retire, or overcome a challenge. These moments are coming of age moments. They are moments when we see the pieces of our lives, the wood and the brass and the coil, and we are asked to make music of them. These and other changes in life require us to ask what parts of our lives are coming together, what is demanding our attention, what path are we on, what are we setting our heart upon? And the answers to these questions, they don't come in a well in a cave on the top of a mountain. They come from a well deep within us, in the soul. Parts that are coming together, parts of us that are going apart, both equally important. I know something about coming of age, of a life of transitions and decisions to be made, changes that I could control or could not control. And I also came of age in a Unitarian Universalist church, the one of my youth. Trust me, coming of age class, your process was much more enriching than mine. But we did have to take a multiple choice test on Unitarian history. But we did not have to learn a new language. We did not have to go through a big party and big transition. What we didn't get was a full trip to Boston the way you are getting. But we did hear an essential message or two, that coming of age is about asking what parts of ourselves we will cultivate. And what will we contribute back to our community? We heard that absolutes can be dangerous. We heard that living lives full of meaning and purpose is the goal. We heard the congregation say to us, we believe in you. And that's what this congregation says to you today. Those things stay with me even today. Today I hear the parts of me need listening to. The tough ones and the sad ones and the exposed ones and the successful ones and the failing ones, the parts that are coming together and the parts that are falling apart, the parts that want this world to be simple and the parts that know how complex life is, all asking me for attention. That has never stopped, and it never will. To come of age is to accept all these parts and see what can be made of them. It is to move beyond certainty, to explore and see value in what you know. Now, we asked these coming-of-age youth something different this year. We used to ask them to write a credo to tell us what they believed, and this year we asked them to tell us what they know. There's a difference. We gave them quotes from spiritual sources, from the Bible and from our affirmation and from our theology, and we asked them to reflect and to give back to us something they knew came from those sources, those wells. And they spoke those reflections here in church last night. I want to read you some. Love is a spiritual connection more complex than the human brain can comprehend. Love is the foundation of our church. The church is a place where other people are being honest about themselves. Helping people is as much as important as the key to life. Religions are like flowers, differing, but each in its own way, having people grow closer to the divine. Love is a treasure, don't let it go. We may not even be conscious of it, they said, but we are changing, learning, and adapting. We do not believe what we want to hear. We believe what we have to, a compulsion of the heart, mind, and conscience. These are the wise words of the people in the first two pews. They said, I plan to establish peace, equality, and harmony in this world, and I will no longer sit in silence as I see evil grow stronger every day. They said at this church, it is a breath of fresh air to be surrounded by open-minded and loving people. Many young people don't have a safe place to be themselves. They said, we hope to someday have a world where you don't get bullied or harassed for being gay or transgender, a world where it isn't degrading to be feminine, a world where everyone loves and accepts everyone else. They said, I feel lucky to be here in a church that doesn't judge me for my uncertainty. Life is nothing without purpose, they said. Sometimes we put the things that aren't truly important in place of what is. They said, and Micah would be proud. Remember Micah and the mandate. The words of wisdom of the people in the first two pews. We had an impassioned rap song. We had beautiful dance. We had paintings of hands outstretched in service to each other. We had passion, and above all, we had hope. We had honesty and genuine offerings of the soul, the parts, the brass and the wood and the coil of these young people offered to us that made music. I know you will want to be here next year. These offerings come in the context of a world that is much more complex than any of us have ever lived. A world where idiotic voices for religion, dangerous end of the world, pseudo-prophecy, hateful fear-mongering happens just downtown at First Baptist Church. I don't mind saying it. Did you see the ad they took out in the Dallas Morning News saying the end of the world is coming? These are dangerous things to say because they mobilize fear. They live in a world where Black lives matter, where a young man in Baltimore can be arrested and thrown in a van, and when he gets to the police station, he has a broken spine and he dies a few days later. A complex and difficult world. They live in a world that will have further complications of the environment than we have known to date. They live in a world of terrorism and war. And yet they speak these words. They speak hope. They speak commitment to justice. And they are 14 and 15. And they give me hope. Hope in a world that can change. When the parts of us come together and we act on them. To come of age. Madeline L'Engle wrote, "When we were children, we used to think that when we were grown up, we would no longer be vulnerable. But to grow up is to accept vulnerability." And Martha Beck wrote, "It's hard having to be a grown-up when you're hurting. It's hard not to want the teachers and doctors to take care of that, but it's not their job." And Karl Kraus, an Austrian writer, writes, "A child learns to discard his ideals, whereas a grown-up never wears out his short pants." I have no idea what that last one really means. Because I don't want these young people to discard their ideals or their short pants. But some of these words say that coming of age is a special thing today and in the future. A thing to take seriously, a thing to give life to, a thing to honor and hold dear. A thing that calls us into our vulnerability, a thing that calls us to look honestly at the pieces of our lives, at the wood, the brass, and the wire, and to ask, how will we make music? So today, friends, we salute you, the coming of age. We bless you. We give you an embrace that only a worshiping community can give you. No one else honors you like this. We believe in you as you are, and we welcome you here. And let the people say, Amen.